Good afternoon, everybody. This is James with 77 Financial Group. You're listening to 15 Minutes of Finance, where in the next 15 minutes, I bet I can get you excited about investing. Let's do it. All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are back at it again. We have a little mix-up this week, right? A little switch it up for you. Brandon is going to do my segment Friday. He's going to talk about the market news. You guys are going to get a fresh take on what's happening in the world. And I'm going to do the midweek segment, right? Today, you guys get to hear about the 7 deadly sins of the financial services industry. I hope you guys are ready, because this is a sneaky link. This is a sneak behind, or a peek behind the curtains. This is sticking your hand in the cookie jar when you're not supposed to. You guys are getting all of the insight here of all the secrets. Okay. And not that I'm super proud of 22-year-old James, but I knew back in 2016 that I didn't like the way the industry was working, how I was expected to work. I mean, look, when I got the job at the insurance firm that also managed money, I won't use the big name because it's a very large company. I had a business degree, and then I was an intern and I was studying for my exams, Series 7, 66, and Life and Health exam. When I had passed everything, thank God, glory be to him for allowing me to be able to pass those terrible exams. There was just a lot of volume, right? And you don't know anything until you study for those exams. Like, you're not taught this stuff in school. So when I was done taking all my exams, they handed me a business card, and there it said James Walters, financial advisor or financial planner. And in my head, I'm like, all right. And then I really thought about it. Actually, what ended up happening was, call my parents, and now my dad's like, okay, convince me why I should hire you. Like, why would I work with you? And I had zero answer. I had just taken all these exams, right? I can do anything legally. I can sell stocks. I can sell bonds. I can sell insurance. I can do options contracts. I can sell annuities. I can sell REITs. I can do anything. And I didn't have an answer about why he should work with me, because I had no idea what I was doing. Okay. Financial advisor, financial planner was a term that I didn't deserve. Okay. I had passed some exams, but I was by no means capable of managing anybody's money or doing any financial planning. I wanted to talk about the 7 deadly sins based upon that feeling that I had. Nobody else that I knew had that feeling. Okay. They viewed it like a job where they were selling stuff, and that was the job, and they were happy to have the job, which is, obviously having a job, that's great. But I didn't feel qualified or felt like I was bringing value, and it bothered me. It still bothers me to this day that people call themselves financial planners, financial advisors, when really they're just salesmen. And that's one of the 7 deadly sins we're going to talk about. But that's the root of I want to call it anger, but I don't even know if that's appropriate. It's just like this resentment for the industry and for everyone in it. So, okay, the first sin in the 7 deadly sins, free advice. Okay. And I hope that these terms, guys, they give you confidence if you're going to work with anybody, or they give you confidence to do it yourself. Now, Brandon will probably kill me later, but I'm a big advocate that you can do this stuff yourself. Now, if you don't want to do it, please hire us. We'll do it with you and do it for you. But let's go over these 7 deadly sins, and I just hope that you guys are able to get the confidence either to ask the right questions or to know that you can do this yourself. It is a lot of work, and you kind of don't want to make any mistakes. That is the big thing about this industry, why it does help to work with a professional. You just have a little bit more confidence. Like there's a little bit more likelihood for success. Okay. Just because they've been around, they know the industry, etc. But okay, the first deadly sin of the industry that gets smart people to buy stupid stuff. Okay. Free advice. Free advice is a term that gets thrown around all over the place, or free services. Come talk to me, get a free consultation. We do that. We do that all the time, right? Someone comes into the office, they're like, well, is the first meeting free? Yeah. I don't know if you have any money to invest. I don't know anything about you, right? And you don't know anything about me. So Obviously, it's free. But that is a marketing term, or honestly, a lot of insurance people use it, where they're just like, yeah, well, my services are free to you. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. What we're doing in that meeting is fact finding. Okay, and that's an ugly term. I hate it. Or a discovery meeting. That one's a little better, but still really, really salesy. We're just trying to discover stuff about you. What do you have, right? Can we manage your money? Can we sell you a product? Are you an annuity customer? Like how do you bring value to us? Okay, how do you make us money? It's a little bit, full transparency, it's very difficult to not have that mindset when speaking to people. I do my very best, because once I start feeling that way, like where I'm kind of fishing for information, I start to feel sick to my stomach, because it's gross. It's a gross feeling. And there's just people in the industry, insurance salesmen in particular, who just don't care. They don't have that. They don't have that feeling. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a layer of morality that's like, I don't even want to get close to that. I'm not sure. Okay. But for me personally, it's inevitable, right, in the industry that you feel that way. You're fact finding. But the concept of free advice is not real. Okay. Now, maybe their time is free, right? You're meeting with somebody in the first 45 minutes. You don't do anything. You don't make any decisions. Sure. Right. Or maybe you buy an insurance product or an annuity. Technically, to you, that is in the moment a free service that that person is providing you. Whether it be information on the insurance or explaining the annuity payouts or something. But guess what? They get paid by the annuity company, by the insurance company. And guess who pays the insurance company? You. You do. So in a roundabout way, they're getting paid by you, and it's a pretty penny, okay? They've changed the rules recently, but back whenever I was on the insurance side of things, annuities could get you 9% commission. So if you have $1 million annuity, I fill out maybe 25 minutes worth of paperwork, boom, $90,000. Okay. You do 3 of those, you're balling. You're a high roller in the world, right? So that is the first thing I want you guys to be aware of. Free advice. There's nothing special about that. Everybody has free advice. Okay? There's nothing, there's zero situation where you're meeting with someone for the first time and it's not free. Okay, zero. All right, second time, pretending to be a fiduciary. Now, that term is, honestly, it's becoming the F word of the industry, because everybody is saying it. Everybody's using it. We're a fiduciary. I'm working a fiduciary capacity. I'm wearing my fiduciary hat. It's terrible. I hate it. I don't like it. Everybody should have to be a fiduciary, but it's just not the case. It's not reality. So, pretending to be a fiduciary, pretty much everybody is going to say they're going to do the very best interest by you. Okay. Insurance salesmen, annuity salesmen, I use them in particular, but it's also financial planners. When you guys, the intricacies of this world, that there's just so many that you almost have to be thrown into it and then work your way out to be able to see all the webs and the tunnels and just the corruption. So I kind of might spew all over the place here, but the fiduciary, okay, the term fiduciary, it just means someone has to do the very best interest for you, legally. Now, where this gets really tricky is in the world of finance, products are not considered best interest. Okay, I cannot sell someone an annuity and claim it's the very best interest for them. Now, I can claim it's suitable, right? And I don't live in that suitable world anymore. So when I was at the insurance company as an advisor, I had 2 hats. I had fiduciary hat and I had suitable hat. And they really wanted me to sell annuities. They wanted me to sell insurance. That's the suitable hat. So when I wear that hat, or any advisor wears that hat, all I have to do is kinda do good for you. Meaning, like, you have to go, yeah, that sounds good. As long as you agree to it, that would be considered suitability. Blows my mind. That's unbelievable too, right? Like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great product. Well, that sounds good. Let's buy that. That is considered suitability. Whereas fiduciary obligation, or my fiduciary hat, is saying, hey, listen, here's 3 options. This A is better than B because of this, and B is better than C because of this. And you go over the options and you basically say, I recommend A, here's why, what do you want to do? And then almost 9 times out of 10, the client's going to be like, yeah, let's go with A. Thank you for explaining everything. In suitability, or in the fiduciary, pretending to be a fiduciary world, it's so vague. But you got to remember, if you're buying a product, okay, an investment product, and it gets a little confusing, I know, they're not being suitable. Now, if you're buying a service, an ongoing relationship, that's considered a fiduciary obligation. It gets very, very confusing, but I just want you to know that in the investment world, products, I want you to think REITs. Well, there are some REITs that trade on the stock exchange, so that might not be the appropriate first example, but insurance. Okay, I'm talking all types of insurance: health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, whole life, universal, index, all of those. Pretty much all insurance is product-based. Okay, now you could make an argument insurance is an important part of a financial plan, but it is by no means sold under a fiduciary capacity. Okay, the next is annuities, right? You know how we feel about annuities. I think they're a complete scam. And you could make an argument that, sure, 1% of maybe 1% of people are a great fit, perfect for an annuity. What they really are, well, first off, the industry is hundreds of billions of dollars a year. Okay, so what those annuity customers actually are, people who buy annuities, is they just need a little bit of education. Okay, they just need to be told a little bit about the product. But guess what? They're talking to somebody who's wearing a suitable hat. They don't care about the fiduciary standard. So that's the second one, pretending to be a fiduciary. Not everybody is one. I hate that F word. You should always just do the best thing for your client, but that would require education and understanding different options and different scenarios. An insurance guy or an annuity guy doesn't want to do that. They want to spend 25 minutes filling out some paperwork and make 90 grand. That's what they want. Okay, number 3, excuse me. Selling what pays them the most. So this is kind of on that same tab here, but I worked for an advisor, an actual financial advisor, who 94% of his book of business was annuity contracts. And I'm starting with this story so you can get a visual. The way annuities work is it is on the surface level, say I'm the client, I give the insurance company $1 million. And they say, okay, for 7 years, you cannot touch this money unless you want to be penalized on it. During that 7 years, should you ever want to decide to take income off of this, we'll guarantee you 5% withdrawal for the rest of your life, right? And they'll guarantee that. What ends up happening is that company will invest that money outside. Usually, it's in something that makes more than 5%. Okay, so they actually go and invest your money. Probably, you could say it's probably just the S&P 500. I'm sure it's more a wide range of investment products. They will go invest that money, make way more interest. Okay, by doing that, they're able to pay the salesman, the financial advisor, who are actually just salesmen fronting the annuity product. They're able to pay them significant commissionable amounts, right? So 9%. Sometimes it's all over the place. Sometimes it's 3 up front and 3 every year. Sometimes it's 5 up front and 0.25 every year. It just depends upon how the insurance company designs it. They can do pretty much whatever they want with that. These products, as a business person, it's just capitalism here. I'm not really faulting the advisor, planner, salesman for this. If you have something that does really, really well for you, right? Say you make that $90,000. You might kind of only want to ever just sell that product, and you might push that product. Why? Because it takes you 25 minutes and you make 90 grand. Okay. So when you hear them have an idea about something and they go, oh, you'd be a great fit for X, Y, and Z, without explaining options, okay, without going over every single possible scenario, that's them selling something because they're going to get a fat commission off of it. Right, that's just the way of the industry. IULs are really big. Whole life is really big. And annuities. Those are the big ones. And then you have products like REITs or unit investment trusts and what are some other ones? There's a whole bunch of different investment products that they're not suitable for everybody. It's like 1% of people are a good candidate, but it gets sold to way more people, 25 times way more people than is actually a good fit for. Okay. Number 4, misleading return projections. This is a big one in the IUL and annuity space, to be honest. And I literally don't have enough time or the visuals yet. Thank God we're going to YouTube soon. I might be able to give you guys some visuals here, but they will mislead return projections. Okay. Like an annuity, for example, you'll see ads where it's like, get 9% on your investment. That's not really what's happening. Okay. Every annuity is either a fixed annuity or a variable annuity. And now they have these like index linked annuities, but I would still call that a variable annuity for you understanding it. If you guys have someone in an annuity, please talk to them. Have them get a second opinion. My blood is boiling just talking about this because this is how this gets sold. Hey, you give me, let's give Prudential, right? They're an insurance company. Nothing against them. Let's give them $1 million, and we'll guarantee you income for the rest of your life. Guaranteed income for the rest of your life is the number one sales tactic of annuities. And when you hear that, you go, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. That doesn't sound too bad at all. But what they're not telling you is now you got to pay 2 to 3% in fees. And then you got to pay an extra 1% if you want your money back when you die. Meaning if you have $1 million and you want to leave your kid $1 million, now you got to pay an extra percent just for that. Right? And there's two sides of an annuity. There's your income bucket and there's your principal bucket. And when you get an annuity, that 9% that we had mentioned, that might be on the income side, right? That's like a fake, not real money. And you see that number climb and climb and climb and climb. But maybe 5 years down the road, you're like, no, I think I want to be in the stock market. I want to buy individual equities, or maybe I'm going to use this money to buy a house. They'll tell you, oh, well, you're going to lose your income benefit. And by that time, it might be, 9% over 10 years. That's more than $2 million. So that income bucket side, that fake money side that they try to tease you with, might be $2,100,000. And then your principal side might be $850,000 because it's been eroded by fees. Okay. And it's invested in a index or a sub account. It gets really complicated. But now you're like, oh, well, I could take the $150,000 loss, or I could keep it in there and now I have $2 million, right? But it's not really $2 million. It's this fake income amount, right? And when you decide to take income off these products, you don't actually get 9%, right? You're at most, the most I've seen is from an 82-year-old, and she got 6.8% of her withdrawal as income every year. Okay, every year. Now you can take out chunks of the money penalty free every year. So you could technically increase that amount, but what ends up happening is now that lowers your principal, right? And by lowering your principal, that also lowers your income side, right? So now that 9% isn't on $2,100,000. Maybe it's on $2,050,000, and it lowers both sides when you decide to take money out. So it's sold to you as something that it's not, with misleading return or income projections. The other one is the IUL or whole life insurance. These are insurance products that are sold to you as an investment piece. I'm sure you've heard investment banking, paying yourself, be your own bank. I can debunk this in 30 seconds or in 3 hours, but the real big visual you need here is that when you buy an insurance product, it's for insurance. Okay, I believe in insurance. I think you should have insurance on your family, or on your life to support your family, on your things if you have substantial things, disability, especially if you work, so for example, medical providers, they're actually required to have disability insurance because if something happens, well, they need to be able to, they can't work no more. They can't do surgery. They lost one hand. They need to be able to make income for all of that effort they put into those jobs. So insurance for insurance sake, very good. I like it. It's when you combine it with these investment products that happens all the time and you are lied to. Okay, the big one is the universal life insurance products. Be your own bank and infinite banking. They'll tell you, hey, you have these premiums for the first 3 years premiums, you're not really going to notice anything. But after that 3 years, it's going to start to build a cash value. And then in that cash value, we can invest in mutual funds or sub-accounts. And then you're going to be making, tons and tons of return. And eventually, you're going to have so much money in there, you don't ever actually have to pay any more premiums, right? The interest on your investment account, your cash value will pay it. Well, that all sounds really good until you realize exactly how much that guy's making continually on your money, the person who sold you the policy. And then you go, oh, well, how much are you making? They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you how much they make. So definitely ask how much they make. And you could ask the question here, like, well, what does it matter how much they make if I'm getting a lot of value out of it? And that is the best question you can ask, right? I really believe in that. Warren Buffett says value is what you get and price is what you pay. So if you're paying a price, but you get an immense amount of value, then who really cares about that price, right? Because you're getting a bunch of value. There is no value in a universal or whole life policy that is better than taking that amount, buying term insurance, and then investing the rest in the S&P 500. Zero. Okay. And you want to know how I know that for sure, guaranteed I can say that, is because when you go that route, your fees are virtually zero. Now you have to pay term insurance fees, but as far as like an advisor getting paid on it, I think you maybe get 80% of 1 year, right? So if you have $1 million policy and it costs you $2,000 a year, maybe that person gets $1,600, and then they don't really get anything after that. So term insurance, it's much easier to talk about what they make because it's like, this is what it is. Here it is. So you have that cash value, and that's invested in some sort of mutual fund. What they tell you is that infinite banking, that's a big term. And they'll say, well, you can just borrow against your own money, tax-free. You already paid taxes on that. You're putting after-tax money in the account that's quote-unquote growing tax deferred. But when you take that money out, right? So say later you want to take a loan against it, right? Because that's how they sell it to you. Well, you just take money out of your cash value, take $20,000 out. Well, you have to pay that $20,000 back. And you have to pay it at an interest, and it's usually high. It's usually 4, 5, 6%. I don't know what it is right now, but it's definitely within those ranges. I mean, you have to pay to get money out that you put in. You have to pay interest on your own money. How does that sound like a bank? Okay, when I want to get money out of the bank, they just send it to me, right? That is not infinite banking. It's infinite banking for the person selling it to you. It's not actually good for the client, but it is sold like it is. Hopefully that makes sense. And then lastly, with those products in particular, you buy insurance, right? So you buy $1 million universal insurance product. Well, you have cash value, right? So that insurance, that $1 million, they're pretty good about that. If you die, your beneficiary is going to get $1 million. But what happens if you've had that policy for 30 years and there's, I don't know, $250,000 in the cash value? Guess what happens? They keep that. They keep your cash value. So now your beneficiary, realistically, considering everything, they're only getting $750,000. Now to them, they're getting $1 million, right? But the insurance company doesn't see it that way. So over that whole 30 years, they were investing the money on the side that you had given them to earn a significant more interest than you're making in your cash value. And whenever you die, they're taking that cash value and subtracting it from your death benefit. Now, there are ways that you could maintain the cash value and give that also to the beneficiary, but you have to pay significant fees. These fees are hefty. They're hefty, hefty, hefty. So you are paying for insurance, and then you're paying them to have a cash value account that you're paying to invest in a mutual fund that has fees. And then you're paying them to get to when you want a loan against it. You have to pay them the 4, 5, 6%. It's totally not worth it. It's sold to you as this great miracle, like, oh, it's tax deferred savings. What are the ultra wealthy going to do when they want to defer their, they want to invest tax deferred? I would tell you that could be one of the worst things you invest in if you're ultra high net worth. Okay. If you want insurance, just get an insurance policy. You do not need these very egregious, misleading value products. They're not good. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Guys, we're almost done. Thank you so much for letting me rant at you. I promise you, these are nuggets of wisdom. You can use them. If you have someone in your life that has these things, which I guarantee you do, right? There's hundreds of you listening now. Thousands next week, who knows? But there's hundreds of you who listen to these. You know somebody. Okay, you know somebody who's getting ripped off like this. All right, and it freaking breaks my heart because there's so many better things. There's so many better things out there. Okay, let me get to number 5 here. Okay, emotional manipulation. All right, this is a great one after my little emotional rant right there. This one is huge. Okay, emotional manipulation, especially with elderly and with women in particular. What I mean by that is like, so annuity salesmen, insurance people, they will target widows. Okay, and again, if you sell insurance, you should get out, but I'm not attacking you. When you get stuck in an industry, you start to believe, right? You start to believe that you're doing the right thing and you believe in it. But if you don't know, it's like if you grew up in Arizona your whole life and Arizona's all you ever knew and you didn't know that there were 49 other states, you would think Arizona, like, this is great. Right? Like, this is the best. Arizona's hot. It's the desert. Now, I'm from Arizona, so I get to talk a little bit of crap. But it's like that, right? In that industry. So if you are in that industry, please forgive me. I'm talking very sincerely to help the clients and our listeners out. So please forgive me for that. But these insurance salesmen will target particular demographics of people, particularly women, single women, widows, and the elderly. And that's because they're all very manipulatable. Manipulatable. That's right? They're easy to manipulate. And it's almost always a situation, which is why the investing in and of itself is great, is that you might have these products and you'll never know that they suck. Because realistically, they're still okay. Okay, they're investing in general is good. And so you're able to, like, oh, look at my returns this week, or look at how we did last year. And unless you know, you might look at that and go, whew, all right, we didn't do too bad, right? Or like, we didn't lose any money. Thinking that way is very limited. That's just like looking at Arizona and being like, whew, look how great it is. We got the shade, right? We got into the shade, not knowing that 6 hours away is San Diego and it's 70 and sunny all the time. You don't need the shade. Okay, you can just be around, be outside. Hopefully that made sense. In my head, it made sense. But they're targeted and they use emotional manipulation. So let me give you an example now, and we'll go to we'll use the widow because that's the biggest annuity example, right? So like I'll tell someone on, like Facebook, for example. I had this argument with this guy on this annuity ad because it was just so bad. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I had to say something. I think I literally said annuities are evil and the people who sell them are evil too. So again, forgive me, guys. I'm sorry. I was just angry at the ad. And someone started arguing with me and then said that, what did he say? Oh, he's like, so you're going to tell me in an annuity for a widow who has no income, who only has $1 million from her husband, she's 60, she's supposed to make that money last till she dies. You're going to tell me an annuity doesn't solve all her problems? And I literally boiled. My blood just boiled. And remember, we're behind a keyboard, right? Keyboard warriors. I'm not trying to be a keyboard warrior, but I definitely got into it with him. He literally thought that she should put $1 million into an annuity and get $50,000 for the rest of her life. Actually, she's 60. In this scenario, I think we said 60, so she's going to get 3% if she wanted to withdraw it because there's withdrawal limits. So yeah, don't you think that that's going to protect her? Like she can't be in the market. She can't be exposed to that risk. And I'm just thinking to myself, how little do you have to actually care about the industry or care about people to not want to know about all the other options out there? And what I mean by all the other options is even if she just went in the S&P 500, and withdrew 6% every year, okay, even on down years, she would still have more money than she would if she was in that annuity and then at death. And you want to know how I know that? Because guess what's going to happen in that annuity? They're going to invest it in the S&P 500 or some index. They're going to link it to something within the annuity. Okay, so they're going to invest the money the same way we would invest it outside for her, or the way that she could invest it, except for now they're taking a fee on it. Okay, so the only real difference is that it's within an annuity. So her income is effectively stable, but it is always low. Okay, and they'll use that as like a security, like this is the best, like this is a very risk-free, guaranteed situation. I have the hardest time understanding how people can say that when the S&P 500, which in the industry wide is very much considered, you're considered risky, like a risky tolerance if you're in the S&P 500. I disagree with that. It's the 500 largest companies in America, which is the best economy in the world. And anytime there's been a crash, except for like the Great Depression or maybe in the 80s, so 99% of the time when there's a crash, it rebounds within 24 months to new highs. Rebounds to new highs, and it averages 10% every year. There is nothing safer that you could invest in my opinion, than the S&P 500. Now, yeah, you got to deal with volatility, but historically, it's been the only thing that you can consistently says get you 10 or 11%. Okay, despite what's happening in the world, the only thing. For me, for the way I invest, that is a staple. That's the foundation, and then you build upon it with other things. These people view like the annuity as put them in the annuity. That's the foundation because it protects them, right? You can threaten. Or not threaten, but you can tell the widow, oh, what if the market drops 25%? Aren't you worried about your money? But they're not telling them the other side of the coin, which is, hey, if that happens, you just got to be a little patient, right? 24 months at most, right? What happened this year? The market dropped 20%, 18, 19%. It was like that for 2 months. And now we're knocking on the door of all-time highs. I think all-time high is like 6,150, around there. We're just below 7,000 right now. It's 6,092 as of right now. Well, how could you say that an annuity is safer or better for her knowing that you're investing in these things anyways while also taking all of these fees out? It's just not a good deal for the client, but they use that fear, right? What if your money drops? How would you feel if the market dropped 50%? It's just not it's not realistic. It's using emotion and fear-based. Okay. We'll go to 6. 6, too many hands in the pot. This is one I learned pretty quickly. This is part of the reason why I went independent and started my own firm was I just realized everybody's making money on everybody's money. Everybody has a hand in the pot. That is your IRA. That is your 401k. It's like 4 or 5, 6 different people who your dollar invested, they make like 10 cents off of it, right? You have $5 billion with 5 million clients. I mean, you're getting a lot of money as a firm and you don't really have to do anything outside of initial, work, I would suppose. But so we'll use a financial advisor down the road from us. They're our competition. They have a very big YouTube channel. I won't mention them, even though I want to. They have like $400,000, $500,000 YouTube following. We were competing. It was between us and them for a client. And this happened a couple months ago. And when we meet with clients, effectively, either they choose to do it themselves because, we gave them that second opinion, or they hire us, right? We don't really lose business. We were competing with this new client, with the firm down the way. And they were like, yeah, but look, they've got this YouTube. They've been doing this for 15 years. They have such great videos and content. And we're just like, we want to retire. And we just feel like we've been watching their stuff for years now. We like them. And I went in and I just wanted to see how many hands were in the pot, right? How many people work with this firm? I showed them that this firm doesn't actually do any of the investment management. None of it. They use a third-party money manager. We've talked about these in the past, but if you're new to it, it's a fact. Like, we're a one-stop shop at our firm. Everything that happens in your account, we do. Okay, there is nobody else. This firm will meet with you. They'll be your financial planner, and they do what's called managing the managers. So they'll hire this third-party money manager. It's called a TAMP, a Turnkey Asset Management Program company. They'll hire them to manage your investments. It's usually in whatever cookie-cutter portfolios that TAMP has, right? Maybe they have 50 portfolios, and so you actually have a decent selection, but it's not really your advisor managing your money. They're outsourcing your funds to this TAMP, and that TAMP might charge, I mean, they can charge anything they want, but typically it's like less than 0.5, but I've seen it as high as 0.75. So your advisor, this advisor had a 1% fee, and then they also had the TAMP fee, right? So that these new clients that we did not get, they went to the other firm, they're getting charged 1.75 or 1.5 on their investments, meeting with these financial planners, even though the financial planner is not making any actual investment decisions. They don't know what's going in they don't know what's going on in that account every day. They don't even look at the account. Right now, look, when you have hundreds of clients, it is difficult to look at everything every day, but when you do it yourself, you at least have a good idea, right? And so that's an example of having multiple hands in the pot. If you want to take a TAMP fee let's just use $1 million. You retire at 60, you have $1 million, you have a TAMP, it's 1.5 for your advisor and the TAMP fee, and fund fees, because whatever they're investing in, there's fees, but we'll just do 1.5 for ease of use. I mean, over 20 years, that 0.5% that TAMP is getting, that's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Easily. So, I mean, I don't know how, they had a YouTube. That's what the clients liked. But even though I showed them, hey, look, this TAMP fee is eating into your returns, they're not actually doing any of the investment management. They're really just a middleman and like a client relationship manager with you. You'll never know who's investing your money. That's an example of too many hands in the pot, eating away your returns. But hey, guess what? They have a great YouTube and you like them. So there you go. That one really bothers me. But when I started noticing that, because TAMPs call us all the time. TAMPs are like, hey, we're a TAMP. We'd love to manage your client assets. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? I do that. We do that. Okay. Now, if we had advisors join our team, because, we do have an RIA, and the advisor's like, we don't want you managing the funds. We want a TAMP to do it. I wouldn't like it, but I also wouldn't prevent them from running their practice with their clients the way they want to run it. So that's just the way Brandon and I run our practice. We're not going to do that. Also, what am I talking about? I probably would never hire an advisor who thinks that way anyways. They either got to get on board with our philosophy or not at all. Okay. Last one. One size fits all advice. This goes back to products and people calling themselves financial advisors. I hate that term. I don't even want to call myself a financial advisor. Okay. To me, when I hear financial advisor, financial planner, I think like, all in one, all encompassing, like they're going to help me with my mortgage. They're going to help me with my school debt. They're going to help me with, my insurance. They're going to help me just with effectively the Dave Ramsey debt consolidation program. That's what I think of when I hear financial planner, financial advisor. It's not entirely realistic, but that's what I think of. I don't want to be that. Now, we do that for clients. We will help them because we already manage their money and invest their wealth, as a wealth manager, which is what I prefer to be labeled as, I guess. I don't know. Investment executive. I don't know. But financial planner to me means you kind of know a little bit about everything and you're able to assist them on a one-time or flat fee ongoing basis. That's not how these planners get paid, right? They get paid on the assets. They get paid on the products. And that effectively what that does is that tells them just to sell stuff. If you told financial planners, hey, you're only going to be able to make a one-time fee every year from the client, fixed fee, that's it, there'd be 1% of the amount of financial planners that there are out there in the world. Because what you end up finding is all these guys that call themselves financial advisors, financial planners. What else is another good one? I don't even know. Broker. There's too many to even think about. They sell one thing usually. They do one thing really, really, really well. Right? And insurance people will call themselves, or a financial services representative, or a financial coach, financial expert, all that stuff. Anybody can say that. Okay, if you sell just whole life insurance, you can call yourself a financial advisor, which is, like, to me, extremely egregious, very misleading, not appropriate, and that's not good, right? That's obviously not good. So the one size fits all advice, that typically does happen with the TAMPs and the financial planners who do money management. They just put these people in these cookie cutter portfolios, profiles, and then the portfolio manager will invest for them that way. Let me give you an example. So in your 401k, your 403b, your 457, your SEP IRA, whatever, well, probably not your SEP IRA because you're probably doing that. But in your employer-sponsored plans, okay, every single one has what is called a target date fund. That is your target retirement date. So maybe it's 2055, maybe it's 2035, 2065, right? What happens in those accounts is those are automated, AI-driven a lot of the time, accounts that as you age, it gets more and more into fixed income and less into individual equities or stock market, et cetera, et cetera. It starts out extremely diversified. We're talking American stocks, international stocks, bonds, probably some real estate in there. And it slowly just becomes less aggressive. And it puts you, as you get closer to retirement, into fixed income, less risky stuff. Sounds good, right? Except for there's zero consideration for your life. You are not a cookie. Okay, you're not cookie dough. No one should be taking a cookie cutter and making a star shape, reindeer shape, sleigh shape, Santa shape out of your assets. That is not you. That's what these funds do. Okay, that is what the one size fits all advice. People retiring in 2060, they are not all the same. They all have different risk tolerances. What ends up happening though is people don't even know they're in that. They're like, oh yeah, my 401k. People don't realize that 401k is just a vehicle. And the investments that you put into stocks, the bonds, the ETFs, the mutual funds, that's the gas. Okay, when you do a target date fund, you're putting like cut gas in there. It's half water, it's probably half booze, and you're thinking your car's chugging along. But really, you don't have the most efficient fuel for your car or for your goals. So the one size fits all advice is very prevalent because it's easy, right? If we did that, so say we used a TAMP, there was 12 funds, we would just put people in a growth, conservative, growth and income, conservative income portfolio. There's 4 funds. Everybody just goes into one of those. That's pretty cookie cutter, and it's very easy, and it would take me 10 minutes, and then I get 1% off of clients' assets. What value is that really to them? Now, I will say I love portfolios, and I want to design portfolios eventually to where I can put people like, hey, this is our portfolio. This is how often we do it. I think 40% of your money should be in this. Here's why. And when we do it that way, we're able to charge a lesser fee because I'm not going into everybody's account individually and making those changes. So there is value in having those kind of portfolios, but people will do that with all of their money. It will be all cookie cutter when that's obviously not how people work, right? Okay, I'm starting to sweat, guys. I'm getting too intense going over all this stuff. Let me just reiterate these for you, okay? So free advice is number 1. Number 2, pretending to be a fiduciary. Number 3, selling what pays them the most. Number 4, misleading return projections or value projections. Number 5, emotional manipulation. Number 6, too many hands in the pot. And number 7, one size fits all advice. So I've ranted at you, right? Those are the 7 deadly sins. What can you do? What can you do? Here's what you can do. First thing, you need to realistically ask yourself, is my money invested? Am I making money while I sleep? Am I doing the most I could with my money? That requires either significant research on your part, or you need a second professional opinion. Or in this case, it would just be a first opinion. That's the first step, is you need to analyze where you're at. Okay. Second is, if you decide to work with somebody, you have to know if they're a fiduciary. And it's intimidating. We're having a hard time with this marketing company we're working with. We're having a hard time with them because there's just been some things not working out on the business front, some guarantees and promises that were made. I'm nervous to even be like, hey, you guys said this. Like, I get nervous, right? But I paid them, right? So I understand it's just confrontation is hard. I get that. But this is I would look at it when you talk to somebody, look at it like you're representing your grandma or your mom, right? You need to ask questions on behalf of yourself like you would for someone you love. And if you do it that way, you will have all the confidence in the world, I promise. So if you do decide to work with somebody, you need to know if they're a fiduciary 100% of the time. Okay. Are they really doing the very best interest by you, which always means options, and then you select an option. That's what that means. It doesn't mean they go, oh, you're a perfect fit for a Prudential defined income annuity. Oh, that is not what you're looking for. Okay. You have to take initiative and investment, or take initiative on your investments if you really want to see the most you can. So first, analyze. Are you really doing the best? And then you need to decide, is this something I can do by myself or want to do by myself? That's going to take a lot of work, but you can do it. Or 2, am I going to work with somebody? I need to know, are they going to advocate for me all the time with everything that we're doing, working with them? Like, are they really going to put me in or invest my money with the very best interest in mind? And then 3, you need to know how people are getting paid in writing. You need to have it written down and seen. We have a fee agreement. Our fee is very clearly written and explains everything in detail. And then I have no problem putting my fees in email. And as we're growing, we are very much going into, dude, billing is hard. Like, we have to go into every account, take money. It's not very efficient. It helps if everybody's at the same percentile, right? Right now, that's not the case because people need different things. People in retirement, right? We don't charge them the same as somebody trying to grow their money as much as possible. That doesn't seem right, but they require a lot of effort, right? Because we have to go in and take their income out and make sure that their income gets taken care of. And we have to take it from the most tax efficient place. And there's a whole bunch of different things, but you want to know where and why the fees come out. You need to be able to have that in writing in an email. Okay. And then you need to have open lines of communication. You need to be able to communicate at all times. And it may not be directly with the advisor. Okay. But if I had $1 for every time Brandon and I heard a client go, my advisor, my CPA, they just don't call me back. Like, I've called 2, 3, 4, 5 times. They don't respond to emails. They don't get back to me. That is so very common in the industry. And you want to know why that is? Is because they're so big that you don't matter. You're a number. You do not want to be a number. And obviously I'm saying this as we're growing our firm, and eventually that we might have a tipping point moment where that client might feel that way about us. The second that happens, I am going to hire somebody. The biggest thing you can have with a financial advisor that makes us different from robo-advisors or from doing it yourself is you just call us, right? We're accessible. That to me is the biggest value other than making your money or helping you reach your financial goals. Not everybody's trying to make money. Those are the biggest values. Okay. So you need to be able to know you can get those things done. If you can do that, you will be, in fact, I'm willing to say this. If you do all those things and you avoid the 7 deadly sins, you're going to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of more dollars than you would have at the beginning. Okay? That's what we want here. All right. We want you guys to make an immense amount of money Because if you guys are able to do it the right way, then that grows and that expands, and then more people are investing. And investing is fun. It's cool, right? Now, a lot of people think it's boring. I think it's great. I can't wait. Like Palantir today hit all-time highs. Man, that felt good, right? Okay, we picked Palantir at 16. That's a great feeling. But guess what? There are a lot of people who trusted us at 16, right? We put 40 grand in at 16. That guy's got more than $500,000 now. That's crazy and super exciting and fun. And it's just validating that, we're doing good stuff here. So, guys, if you have somebody who fits the description of the 7 deadly sins that you think they might be involved, please let us be a second opinion. Have them reach out to us. We're happy to help you. If you don't work with us, you don't work with us. At least you got some fiduciary advice. All right? We're here to do educational and uplifting things before we are here to get clients. That's going to be a consequence of us trying to do the right thing. So that's it, guys. I'm done. 50 minutes. 50 minutes of finance instead of 15 minutes. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And Brandon's going to take care of you on Friday. And I'll see you guys next week. As always, invest early, invest often.